Right now, the demand for gaming PC feels higher than ever, but somehow our wallets never seem to agree. PC parts keep getting more expensive every year. Honestly, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if people stop giving cash at weddings and start gifting GPU instead. So I ran a poll and the answer was pretty clear. Most of you want a cheap gaming PC. Something realistic, not a $2,000 flex build. That's why today I'm building a $36 gaming PC, and there's one rule: only AMD parts. Before we start putting anything together, let's talk about why I chose AMD for a build this cheap, and how it actually makes this possible in the first place. Around 2012, the PC hardware market was basically a one-horse race. Intel controlled roughly 80 to 85% of the CPU market, and for most people, AMD wasn't even part of the conversation. This was easily one of AMD's darkest periods. Things got so bad they had to sell off assets just to stay alive. But here's the interesting part. AMD didn't try to beat Intel head-on with raw CPU power. Instead, they made a radical pivot. Their big gamble was simple but risky. Put a genuinely strong GPU inside the CPU, sell it cheap, and move units at scale. The idea wasn't to win benchmarks, it was to win value. Cheap systems, decent graphics, and mass adoption. It was a bold move and honestly a desperate one. AMD knew they couldn't out Intel at the time, so they tried something different, something Intel wasn't taking seriously yet. So in this video, I want to take a step back and actually experience what AMD was betting its survival on, the result of years of R&D, losses, and stubborn persistence during that era. So the question is, where do you even find a $36 PC in the first place? Amazon? Forget it. The cheapest stuff there is still like double my budget. eBay can work, but most listings are either too weak to bother with, or the shipping costs as much as the PC, which is just painful. But lucky for me, I already had a shortcut. A while back, I picked up this 2012 era APU combo for $15, and yeah, it was literally made right, in that AMD was fighting for its life period. I've actually done a full video on this combo already, but I'll give you the quick rundown for anyone new here, so you know what we're working with. So right here, we've got an FM2 motherboard, model F2A55MHD2, and sitting inside it is an A8 5600K APU. This chip came out back in 2012, and at the time it cost about $95. When it launched, the A8 5600K was priced roughly 20% cheaper than the Intel i3-3220, and that was very much AMD's game plan back then. They weren't trying to fight Intel at the top, instead they focused on offering better value for less money. Fast forward to today, and yeah, you can actually grab this CPU for around $13 on eBay. I mean, that's cheaper than a decent lunch in some places. For memory, I'm running a dual 2GB RAM stick. And don't worry, I've tested everything already, and surprisingly enough, all these parts are still alive and kicking. So at this point, I've spent a total of $15, which means whatever money is left will go into the rest of the parts to turn this into a fully working PC. Next up is storage. And with a budget like this, I can't really ask for huge capacity or blazing fast speeds. So I'm going with a used 120GB drive, which costs about $5, not including shipping. This is from a small, lesser-known brand, so yeah. I wouldn't exactly give it a gold star for reliability. If you've got important data or you're planning to use your PC long-term, I'd strongly recommend staying far, far away from this drive. But for a super low-budget build like this, it gets the job done, as long as you don't trust it with anything you care about. For the power supply, I needed one with an 8-pin power connector. And luckily, I managed to find a 550-watt PSU for just $5. On the outside, it actually looks pretty clean, although the void sticker is gone, so yeah, it's definitely been opened before. Another big reason it's so cheap is simply its age. This power supply has been in use since 2017, which means it's about 9 years old at this point. According to the seller, it may shut down if pushed to full load. But with my current setup, I'm never going to pull more than 300 watts, so I'm still pretty comfortable using it. Is it ideal? Definitely not. But for a budget build like this, it should survive, at least for now. Moving on to the case, I really didn't want to spend much on looks. So yeah, I paid just $2 for this one. And honestly, I was pretty surprised, but this is actually a full-size ATX case. But of course, it's far from perfect. As you can see, it's missing both side panels, the inside has a lot of rust, and the frame itself is slightly bent. So I had to use whatever remaining muscle power I had left to bend it back into shape. The power button also seems to be broken, so I'll need to fix that before it's usable. It does come with a DVD drive. Unfortunately, it doesn't work anymore. At this point, it's really just here to make the case feel less empty. But hey, for $2, I'm not complaining. All right, let me clean this thing up and install all the parts. I'll do this real quick. And as you can see, the system boots up just fine. Technically, I could start gaming right now, but let's be honest, with a 14-year-old APU, the experience would be pretty rough. This APU is using Radeon 7560D graphics, and yeah, that's not exactly a gaming powerhouse. Since I've only spent $27 so far, I still have room in the budget for a dedicated GPU, and of course, it has to be AMD. Then I remembered I had an old R5340 lying around. I bought it a long time ago and honestly don't remember the price, so I checked eBay. And turns out it's only worth about $9 now. That fits perfectly within the budget, so this GPU is going into the build. Now this is mostly an office-level GPU, but it should still be much better than the iGPU we had before. The card doesn't need any external power, but it still pulls around 65 watts, so let's just hope my power supply doesn't catch on fire. And with that, the total cost of this build comes to $36. Now the real question is, was it worth it? Let's find out in the performance test. But once I checked the system, a problem showed up pretty fast. Since this is an APU, the integrated graphics steals system RAM to do its job. With only 4 GB of RAM, that's a big deal. Before any tweaks, the APU was taking around 500 megabytes, which left almost nothing for Windows. And yeah, the system felt sluggish all the time. The thing is, I'm already using a dedicated GPU, so the integrated graphics were completely pointless. So I jumped into the BIOS, disabled the integrated graphics, and set the system to prioritize the discrete GPU instead. After saving and rebooting, the APU stopped reserving RAM altogether. Just like that, I got about 500 megabytes of RAM back, which might not sound like much, but on a 4 GB system, that's huge. The first game I tested was Minecraft, running at 1080p. Right away, you can tell the CPU is not having a good time. It's pinned at 100% usage almost constantly, while the GPU is barely doing anything. With the render distance set to 32 chunks, the FPS is honestly awful. It even drops into single digits at times. So I backed it down to 8 chunks, and things got a lot better. FPS hovers around 100, which sounds great on paper, but the moment I move fast or load new areas, that 14-year-old CPU just can't keep up. Stutters and lag spikes still happen pretty often. So yeah, Minecraft on this setup is not great, but not completely terrible either. It's playable with compromises, but definitely not smooth all the time. Next up is CS2, tested at 720p, and once again the CPU is the main bottleneck here. Its single-core performance just isn't strong enough to hold 60 FPS, even at this low resolution. Meanwhile, the GPU is basically chilling, nowhere near full load. Bottom line, CS2 is technically playable, but the FPS is clearly capped by the CPU, so don't expect a smooth or competitive experience. Next up is an older AAA title, Tomb Raider. At 1080p on low settings, the GPU is fully maxed out, but performance is honestly not bad, hovering around 40 FPS. It's playable, but not exactly smooth. If you drop the resolution down to 720p, the experience improves a lot and feels noticeably smoother. This is one of those cases where a small compromise in resolution makes a big difference. And this is where things really start to fall apart. When I tried The Witcher 3 and Elden Ring, both of them greeted me with the same not-so-friendly message: crash. No loading, no mercy, just straight to desktop. Cyberpunk 2077 was different. The game actually launched, but all I got was a solid black screen. No UI, no visuals, just darkness. Technically running, practically useless. After putting this PC through all that pain, I'll admit, it was pretty entertaining to test. But let me be clear, I don't recommend building an old-school AMD setup like this if your goal is actual gaming. It's fun as an experiment, not as a long-term solution. Do yourself a favor, save a bit more money and build something more modern and balanced. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.